Sliced bread is a staple food consumed worldwide and produced in large quantities. But how is that soft and delicious bread that we use for sandwiches or toast made? In this video, we will discover how the ingredients are mixed to create thousands of slices of sliced bread. It's a very important food and millions of people around the world eat it every day. It is believed that the first form of bread was made by the Egyptians over 5,000 years ago. Surprisingly, the basic recipe for bread has remained the same for thousands of years. Simply mix flour and water to make the dough and then bake it. Sliced bread was invented in 1928 by an American baker who patented a machine that automatically sliced the bread into uniform slices, making it easier to consume and an instant success. It is called sliced bread because it is cooked in a rectangular mold, giving it its characteristic shape. The process starts with flour. Flour is made from wheat, which is cleaned before being transported through a 10-kilometer-long network of pipes from the silos to the machinery. The wheat is soaked in water and left for up to 24 hours to remove the outer husk. Then it is milled with steel rollers that crush the grains. The crushed wheat passes through finer and finer sieves, removing the coarse matter and releasing small amounts of flour each time. This coarse material is sent back to the steel rollers for further grinding, and the process is repeated until the desired flour for sliced bread is obtained. The finished flour is ready to be transported to the bakery by truck. The flour is a combustible powder, and in a confined space it can create an explosive environment where any electrical spark could ignite it. Therefore, the mill must take great care during loading. The truck must be grounded to prevent the accumulation of static electricity, while powerful fans prevent the dust from escaping. This bakery receives nearly 1,000 tons of flour per week, as it is one of the main ingredients for bread. They store it in huge bins called silos. The millers deliver the flour twice a day in tankers. At the heart of the factory is the gigantic bread production line that bakes and packages 1.5 million loaves of sliced bread every week. The flour is pumped from the tanker truck to the top of the silo. Yeast is the special ingredient that makes the bread rise, and it needs to be kept at the proper temperature. Therefore, in this room, computers constantly monitor its temperature. The main ingredients are pumped through pipes to a giant mixer. The first task is to weigh all the ingredients: flour, yeast, oil, vinegar, sugar, salt, water, and small amounts of other ingredients such as fat and preservatives. The preservatives are used to extend the shelf life of the sliced bread and prevent the growth of bacteria. Ingredients that are needed in smaller quantities, like seeds or nuts, are added by hand. It requires 600 kilograms of flour. Next, the machine mixes all the ingredients. The ingredients are combined until they form an elastic and sticky dough. The mixing blades rotate extremely fast, completing 360 full rotations per minute. This enormous mixer works the dough for 8 minutes, resulting in a massive dough that can fill 600 bags of sliced bread. Once the dough is well homogenized, it is emptied into a huge container. At this point, the dough weighs 1 ton, and although it contains a significant amount of water, part of it will be lost during the later stages of the baking process. The dough is then divided into equal-sized pieces. At the bottom of the machine, a small hole allows the dough to come out. 2 mechanical arms cut it into equal pieces, and each piece will become a loaf. With the help of blades, the dough is divided into small balls at a rate of 192 per minute. The dough balls then fall onto a conveyor belt. The pieces of dough are transformed into balls which can be worked more easily. The dough balls are coated with flour to prevent sticking during transport and deformation. The balls come out of the divider and enter the molder, which shapes the dough into balls at high speed. The dough is then folded and rolled by the machine, producing 3 pieces per second for a total of 11,500 per hour. The dough is rolled until it reaches the exact size, and then it falls into baking molds. These molds are used for the yeast to ferment, a process that takes 3 hours. When the yeast ferments, it causes the dough to rise significantly. Now it's time to let the yeast do its work and make the dough rise. After mixing and turning the dough, it needs to rest for a few minutes during transport. This resting period allows the yeast to act, and it is called fermentation. As the dough settles on the movable shelves of the fermentation chamber, small air bubbles form inside and soften the dough. After about 8 minutes, the first fermentation is complete. The dough is then stretched, and any air bubbles are removed to give it the proper shape. The yeast creates small gas bubbles inside the dough at a temperature of around 45 degrees Celsius. The yeast breaks down the flour in the dough, forming small bubbles of carbon dioxide that fill the dough and make it rise. After 50 minutes of fermentation, the finishing touches are added, such as a sprinkling of flour or a seed topping. Once the bread loaves have risen, they are baked in large ovens. The dough loaves are ready to enter the oven at a temperature of about 260 degrees Celsius. This oven measures 39 meters long, longer than a tennis court. They need to achieve the right temperature, so air is blown around the molds to ensure even baking. They are baked for 20 minutes at 260 degrees Celsius. Once baked, the loaves have a beautiful golden color. Just 20 minutes later, delicious freshly baked loaves of bread appear. A loaf has to be perfect if it is going to be sold in a store. All day, Bay Acres check that the bread is just right, with a great taste and the proper size and shape. When the loaves are ready, they are removed from the molds using a tipping system. The loaves are taken out of their molds and placed on a conveyor belt to cool. A transportation system takes the loaves to different sections of the bakery. Hot bread cannot be sliced, so it needs to cool slowly. In a temperature-controlled refrigerator, the bread cools while rotating through these enormous cooling towers for about 2 hours. During the cooling process, the sliced bread settles and becomes denser and more compact, helping it maintain its rectangular shape. After 2 or 3 hours of cooling, a standard crust or outer layer forms. Once cooled, the loaves are sent to the slicer, which cuts 65 slices per minute. The slicing is done by 2-meter wide and 40-centimeter long steel blades. The blades are replaced every 2 weeks. Each loaf is sliced into 20 slices. This machine takes care of the slicing work. And then the bread is placed in bags. The slices are automatically packaged at a rate of 65 per minute, and they're ready for distribution. It has taken 5.5 hours from the dough preparation to the packaging of the sliced bread. If you want to know how butter is made, you can find the link in the description and the first comment. Like the video if you enjoyed it and share it with your friends who might be interested. Also, subscribe to this channel and activate notifications for amazing new videos to keep learning. Thanks for watching.